So you're welcome to Who What How Friday by Idon Studios, and today we are going to be addressing who has a messy timeline, what creates chaos, and how to organize fast. So you're welcome to Who What How Friday, and I'm Mr. Stu. I'm going to be discussing with you today what many editors are guilty of. You see, many video editors, they are guilty of bad organizational workflow in their editing software. And sometimes your editing timeline looks like a war zone. The clips are scattered everywhere. The audio files, you cannot even locate which of these files is a sound effect or which one is a music bed. Even files are randomly named such that you're looking for a particular clip and you are taking ages to find a particular clip. But let's be honest, many editors don't have skill problems. What they have is an organizational problem. And when this chaos is created, what it does is that the chaos steals time, it kills creativity, and it makes simple work even appear to be like a punishment. A messy timeline is like cooking in a very dirty kitchen. The ingredients may be there, but the stress is going to be out of this world. Now let's go into the who, what, how properly. Now, who has a messy timeline? A messy timeline can be owned by anybody. It could be an amateur, you could be a pro editor, you could be an expert. The truth is, chaos does not respect talent. You have to be organized to have your workflow organized. Because if your editing system is weak, when I mean system, I mean the processes you go through along your editing workflow. If these processes are weak, your timeline will definitely expose you. Now, some persons think when you have your work scattered across your timeline, it makes your work processes fast and it speaks of professionality. But the truth is, you will think this is what it is until a client tells you to make an adjustment to a particular scene. Then you will observe that the clip you need to use for the adjustments has not been named and you have it scattered across your timeline and you use several minutes to search for that files, and that is time being wasted. You see, this disorganization may not really show when you just do the job and you're out of that place, but when a review is required from you, then you will see what a mess you have created on your timeline. I'm going to point out 5 things that create chaos on your timeline, and as soon as you start paying attention to these things, you start having your timeline better organized and your workflow speeds up. Number 1 is no folder structure. You see, I usually tell persons who have learned under me in time past that when you're editing, the first thing you must take note of or you must address is organization, and that is creating folders for different class of files. For example, if your footage is dumped in a folder that is named projects, you are already starting on the wrong notes. So I advise that you create folders inside your projects file that will help you to organize these files. You have a folder that has been named videos, another folder audio, another folder graphics, another folder music, another folder sequence. So when you spend about 10 minutes of your time to start a project by organizing files like this, it's going to save you a number of minutes and hours later where you will use to find files that you may need while you're ongoing with the project edits. Number 2 is bad file names. You see, we sometimes edit videos or import video files, footages into our timeline with the traditional names that come with the files from the camera. For example, you just see a file C0034.mp4 and you import it to your timeline. When pressure hits, bad file naming will not save you. What will save you is specific structured file naming, whereby you call a specific file drone opening shots, client logo, interview night, interview daytime. So when you name files like this, it gives you the liberty to, in the midst of pressure, identify specific clips that you need to carry out specific tasks within your timeline. Number 3 is no color labels. You see, the eyes process color faster than text. You should use that gift in your editing workflow. When you label different sets of files in specific colors, it helps you to create the organizational chart in your eyes. While you are editing, you are seeing, okay, these green files are the ones that are A-roll footages, while the B-roll files are the ones that are labeled in magenta or whatever color you choose to use. So you see, when you maximize the use of color labels while you are editing, it gives your eyes that organized, structured timeline. Now, one glance can just tell the story, can give you a meaning to what you have been editing without any confusion. Number 4 is keeping everything on random tracks. On your timeline, there are different layers for videos and different layers for audio. For the video layers, we have it labeled V1, V2, V3 like so. While for the audio layers, it is labeled A1, A2, A3 like so. For a structured and organized timeline, It is important that you identify your V1 to be your A-roll footages, your main footages, while your V2 can serve for your B-rolls. Your V3 can be for text and graphics, while your V4 can be for effects. Then for the audio, the A1 can be for the dialogue, the A2 can be for the music bed, while the A3 can be for sound design, sound effects. So if you have your files organized in this manner, it reduces your chance of chaos in your editing workflow. Number 5 is editing while you are emotional. It is very important that, as insignificant as this can be, it has a whole high stake of significance in your editing process. As for me, I would rather edit when I am calm without any negative or positive emotion. How to organize fast. The best way to organize fast is to organize first. So I'm going to give you 6 steps in order to have an organized workflow so you can avoid chaos and have your files organized in your timeline. The first step is to spend the first 10 minutes, not 1 hour. The first 10 minutes to import all your files into the timeline, then organize them in respective folders, just like I mentioned earlier. The footages should be under the folder called footages. The audio file should be under the folder called audio files. The music should be under the folder called music. Text and graphics template should be under the folder called text and graphics. While the sequences that you're going to be creating, for example, the next 10 sequences you're going to be creating inside your project timeline should also be organized in a folder called sequences. When you're trying to create a folder, sometimes or most times it is called a bin. In case you don't find folders, you find bins to create and have your files organized in there one after the other. Step 2 is to build a timeline template. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you have an edit to make. You should have a template of how you organize your files in your timeline when you're about to edit. So with that template, it helps you to do things faster before you start editing. Step 3 is to use markers. You see, markers is highly underrated to some editors, but the day I figured out that markers can help us have a better organized timeline, I never edited without markers. How do you use markers? Markers can be engaged on your timeline to separate scenes. They can also be used to mark beat drops and sound changes within your timeline. So instead of navigating your ruler across the timeline looking for where the next scene had started, the marker that you have placed in that particular point is going to help you identify and reach to that scene beginning at once. Step 4 is to cut in passes. What does this mean? It means that you don't have to cut everything at once. You don't have to cut your A-roll, B-roll, sound design and everything at once. All you do is you cut in passes. You cut your story first. Let your story for your A-roll, let it just flow. Once you're done with that, you can now add your B-rolls. After that, you can start putting sound designs. So it is your own structure to define how you should cut your clips and your timeline in passes, such that you finish a particular task first, then you layer with another task next. Then like so, you can move progressively. By this way, you can organize your edits to meet a particular time threshold, whereby you'll be like, day 1, I'm going to do the story. Day 2, I'll add B-rolls. Day 3, but if you cut everything at once, you are overwhelming yourself, and that is what leads to frustration when you are editing sometimes. Step 5 is to name your versions properly. Instead of using random names like Final, Final 2, Real Final, I've been a victim of this. When you name your project with special names like Project Version 1 and adding something else to remember, it makes it better organized than having the first version as Final, the other one Final Project, Real. Step 6 is to clean as you go. Don't say I'll fix this later. Later is a liar. You have to ensure that as you are having what you're no longer using on the timeline, do away with them immediately and have your timeline organized for a proper correction when need be. So delete dead clips, move misplaced audio, and just do everything you have to do now. Let the timeline be organized as much as possible. So you see, clients does not care how dramatic your workspace look. They don't care how scattered or complex your timeline is appearing. All they care about is your ability to deliver fast when you are required to make a correction to the edits. And if your timeline is messy, your ability to deliver fast will reduce. But if your timeline is organized, it increases your chances to deliver fast when a correction is required of you. Messy editors may look creative, but organized editors, they build a career. This is just because talent gets attention, but system is what brings money. So what should you do today? Kindly go back to one of your edits you've done in the recent past. Look at it very well. Would a stranger observe your timeline and understand in 2 minutes what has happened? If the answer is no, then you should upgrade your habits. So when next you open your editing software, don't just jump into the editing process at once. ensure to have your files and your project files organized just before you start. So I'm going to see you guys on the next episode of Who What How Friday series by iDone Studios. Until then, create better.